What's going on, people? It is Uncle Nick, and I'm coming at you with the Q&A that I said I would be releasing early this week. Now, you guys came through and asked a lot of questions, so thank you for delivering with that. I do appreciate the activity, you guys constantly commenting. It means a lot, guys, so thank you. Let's get moving on to the Q&A. So the first question comes from Michael Buchanan. His question is, what is a good alternative to Atlas stones if you have any? The best alternative, I would say, would probably be keg loads. Atlas stones is a hard thing to substitute because they're so unique. You can pick up a 300-pound stone, you can pick up a 300-pound anything. But with that being said, anything front carry, sandbag or front load, it does mimic the Atlas stone to a certain extent. It's a lower pick. You have to get around it and crush it. Even if you crush the keg vertically and practice the extensions there, that does help with the Atlas stones. But anything front loading will transfer to some extent. I hope that helps you, man. He also asked, if you were an ancient warrior, Viking, samurai, etc., what would you be? Do pirates count as warriors? If not, I will go with Spartan because I do have Greek heritage, my dad being born in Greece. So I will definitely go with Spartan because they are legends. Spartans are still used today, references to military and whatnot and their type of training and regimen. They were just amazing athletes and warriors across the board. But a close second would definitely be Vikings because they're Vikings. Thank you for your question, Michael. I really appreciate it, brother. T. Lincoln asks, how do I start incorporating 42-second pauses into my training? Don't. All right, AE Redux, if I said that correctly. Question is, what are some of your hobbies outside of strongman? Thank you for your question, man. I'm a very active person. Anything on a board, whether it was skateboarding, surfing, snowboarding, I got very good at it. I loved it. I don't really do that as much anymore. I kind of stick to, I do shoot a lot of like skeet and clay birds, the type we say pull, you shoot, because I did grow up hunting as well. But I do love fishing. I love shooting things, making things blow up. I ride a motorcycle, so I spend a lot of time on that, whether it's just commuting or if I want to take the long way home, I will go find a couple back roads and shred those up on my motorcycle. On to the next question. This comes from Doing It Wrong. Since hip drive tends to be a key factor for just about everything, what do you do to improve it? What are some of the tips and tricks for surviving the gym without AC? So that was two questions. Two questions that are, so I'm gonna answer the AC one because that's pretty short. Get fans, and I hope your gym has big doors you can open to get some airflow in there. That's about how we do it, fans and open doors. The hip drive question, how do you improve it? You improve it by doing it more and ingraining that hip drive. Basically, you can do that with bands, attaching bands around your waist to, say, one of the weight racks, and doing a stone, a light stone with the band tension around your hips. Deadlifts, kegs, anything loading, anything cleaning, log clean and press, normal barbell clean and press, kettlebell swings, heavy kettlebell swings, because that relies on your hips. It's a pretty simple motion to train. It's so versatile in its use. It's used across so many implements, especially in the strongman world. So any one of those implements in itself will improve that because you have to do it to do the lift correctly. That was an excellent question, man, so thank you. John Small asks, I've been wondering, when I'm attempting to brace properly, which I may not be doing, I always feel like I'm gonna shit myself. Is this normal or am I doing something wrong? That's normal. Some people, it's actually, so like for men and females, they brace. The women typically feel it more in their bladder, and men typically feel it more in the rear end, and that is completely normal. You are not the only person that feels like they're gonna shit themselves. My word of advice would try and go to the bathroom before you lift, especially on heavy days, because one could slip, man. You don't want that to happen. If that's the case, just make sure you're wearing compression shorts. Keep that shit contained, brother. Michael Price asks, what are some of the things you like most about a well-run competition? And what are the things you have hated about other competitions? Okay, that is an awesome question. So the things I like most about a well-run competition is the pace. They move pretty fast. I rely a lot on conditioning, so that plays to my advantage. But I also like not having to compete from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and having to wait 2.5 hours in between events. So a well-paced competition is always better. Good, consistent judging, Whether the judges are lax, be lax for everybody. If they're strict, be strict for everybody. Consistency. Things that I hated, like I just kind of said, I'm double tapping on that, is a competition that drags out a lot of downtime, people not being prepared, that are running it, too many events. It's accumulation of those things, not necessarily one thing. It's usually a combination of things that makes for a bad run competition. The Exiled Texan asks, you like music while lifting? What are some of your favorite bands? Yes, I do enjoy music, but it is not something I rely on because when I compete, I don't have it. So, especially for YouTube, I tend to have to turn music down, especially when you guys see me hitting a PR. If I'm putting music over it, that means the music was loud and I don't want to deal with the YouTube flagging and copywriting stuff from that. So, most of the time, I've gotten pretty good at turning the music down. I do enjoy it, but it is not something I rely on. But some of my favorite bands, I listen to a lot of Tech 9 in the gym, harder rock. I wouldn't say metal, I'm not a metal guy. Like Beartooth, they're one of my favorites. Tech 9, Hobson, a lot of those guys. The darker type hip hop stuff. I'm not really a mainstream hip hop guy or mainstream rock guy. I like guys that you can understand and are lyricists and have a good melody and beat with their music. So I hope that helps, man. I've been seeing a lot of stuff about deadlift variations these days, like pause, deadlifts, block pulls, clean pulls, etc. I'm a powerlifter. My question is, how do I choose an accessory? Should I rotate through them all or just pick one and stick to it? Well, how accessory work is supposed to break down, man, is it's supposed to break down the main lift. So say you're doing a press day, right? You're working on overhead. So I'm going to have some sort of press in that accessory work, whether it's dumbbells. So my main work for strength was axle. So I'm going to go do some neutral grip dumbbells or banded axle press, something of that nature to get an actual press in. Then along with that, I'm going to do tricep extensions and probably waiter walks. So I ingrain the lockout, the parts of the press with a different implement or a similar implement, just a different technique, and then I'm going to ingrain the overhead stability. So I basically break down, just like deadlifts, you have the kettlebell swings to ingrain the hip movement, or you do good mornings to ingrain that lockout, that lower back, that hamstring activation. Accessory work is designed to help and accessorize the main movement. So just think about it as breaking it down. What accessories break down the movement you were doing for that day. He also asked what my MOS is with the Army. I'm not going to go too much deal with that because I would like to make a video of that in the future. I'm tracking down a lot of photos and stuff for you guys because they're on old electronic devices that I'm having trouble recovering them from. My old laptop actually completely just took a shit, so I'm trying to recover them from that as well. So I am putting together a video for my military stuff for you guys because there have been a lot of questions about that. I've not forgotten about it. I am working on that as we speak, trying to get all that stuff together for you guys. Next question comes from Strosity. How important is flexibility training to you, and what do you do to get, maintain, and improve your flexibility? It is important. It definitely is. I don't do too much static stretching before I lift. It's all moving stuff to get warmed up, my joints warmed up. Everything's gonna be moving when I lift. I'm not really gonna be doing anything static. Even static lifts, you're moving. So most of my stretching comes in before I go to bed. I roll out, then I stretch. I roll out some more, then I stretch, do all that stuff. And I focus on, say I did deadlifts, I focus on my posterior chain a little more. Say I did overhead, I'll focus on my upper back, my shoulders, my triceps, biceps with the trigger wheel, all that stuff. But it's definitely important, do not neglect it. It's part of the recovery process, and it's not something you get benefits doing here and there. You have to keep up with it constantly, and it's something I need to be better at because I tend to neglect it, whether I'm editing a video, trying to get that out, other stuff comes up. But it is definitely something you cannot entirely neglect in itself, especially for you stronger guys out there that are moving bigger weights. Do not neglect the recovery. Radoslav Mihov asks, what type of shoes do you prefer for different events? If I'm squatting or I'm overhead pressing, I'm wearing lifters, like squat shoe type stuff. If not, I'm wearing my New Balance Minimuses or I'm barefoot. Moving events, I'm wearing my New Balance Minimuses. I like Minimus shoes because they feel like I'm wearing barefoot. My feet were not made for shoes. They're extremely wide. So I tend to go barefoot as often as I can. Now, I can't always do that for a comp, so when I'm training for a comp, I put on the shoes I'm gonna wear for the lifts I'm going to wear them on. You don't want squishy shoes because it's like walking on sponges and takes away from the stability aspect of your foot to the ground. This comes from Tim Moss, Q&A. If I fall behind during an Imam, is it better to stick with the clock and lose some reps, or drop the clock and work through the exercises as fast as possible? I would drop weight and get the reps, because most of the time Imams are conditioning and speed, so you want the reps, even if that means you have to drop 10, 15 pounds to get the reps, because you're trying to ingrain something through repetition with Imam stuff. Do not sacrifice the reps. Use that for a rule of thumb on just about everything except for strength work, because strength work, you're trying to move more weight, build more strength. Imams typically means speed. If you're losing a rep, that probably means you're losing speed. So do not sacrifice the reps to get the weight on Imams especially. That was a good question, man. Thank you. Philip Castell asks, what is your favorite non-alcoholic drink and alcoholic drink? Also favorite bulking / cheat meal? I'm not a big drinker. I really don't drink too much, but I would have to say my favorite alcoholic drink, some sort of rum and some sort of Coke or Dr. Pepper, probably like Captain Morgan and Coke. Captain Morgan and Dr. Pepper are usually, or used to be my go-to when I was drinking a little more often. But now it's mainly social, and it's like once in a blue moon, like every couple months or so. If I'm at an event or something, I'll have a drink or two. But outside of that, I'm not too big of a drinker. My favorite non-alcoholic drink, ooh. You probably will see me drinking these pretty often. This or Dr. Pepper. I probably have about one Dr. Pepper a month, because that's like my little treat. So I will indulge in a little bit of that every now and then. Favorite bulking / cheat meal? I don't really bulk, but my favorite cheat meal would probably be pizza and or French toast, because they are amazing, and donuts, or all the above, all at once. I'll take it. Austin Shiner, how do you breathe and brace during higher rep sets more than 5 of bent over rows? Your breathing and bracing shouldn't change. It's just gonna get a little more difficult, and through practice, you will build up a tolerance to that. Deadlift the barbell, stand all the way up, rebreathe, rebrace, go down, do your rows. If you have to, stand up again, rebreathe, rebrace. If you're gonna breathe with the reps, do not completely exhale. Short, choppy breaths, kind of time the rhythm of the movement to where you're pulling on your brace and releasing on the breathing, if that makes sense. It takes a little timing, it's a little funky at first, you'll get a lot of head pressure, but you will get used to it, your tolerance will go up for that head pressure. Half Past Time asked, if you weren't doing strongman, what sport would you do? That is a good question. I grew up playing a lot of lacrosse and ice hockey. I would definitely get back in touch with those two sports, because I do enjoy those sports. Playing them was a lot of fun, but I would also take up snowboarding again, because that was something that I got very into in the off seasons of those sports. And when in between those sports, snowboarding, I learned to ski when I was like 2 out in Colorado. So that is something I did from a very early age and got very good at. I was doing flips and 360s and 540s at a very early age. It is something that if I could have put more time into it and pursued it, I could have possibly done something with. You know, you get to high school, sports kind of take over, other things take over, then the military took over. So, but those are some things I would love to get back into if I have the time and when I get the time again. Thank you for that question, man. Kaur Capillari asks, for the Q&A, have you ever considered going up in weight to get some strength increase for competitions? Why not? That is a good question. I have put on weight. I did break 200 pounds just before the Arnold when I was training for the Arnold, because I was competing in 231s, because there is no 200-pound class. Well, as I got heavier in weight, I noticed that the only thing that changed was my conditioning got a little bit worse. So I decided to go back to my normal routine, and I was competing at about 199, 200, maybe 201. I weighed in full sweatpants, sweatshirt, because it was raining that day. My sweatpants were wet, my shoes were wet. I had all my phone, wallet, I had a water bottle in my pocket, my hoodie was wet, and I weighed in at like 203. I was pretty light. I was probably the lightest guy by 30 pounds at the Arnold. I didn't really notice any difference in strength, at least not right away. I kind of stick to focusing on just strength. As I get stronger, size will eventually come gradually. So I focus on the strength aspect and not really worried about making size, because I do want that 90 kg world title. And then once I get that, I will focus on getting stronger and the size will come. I'm not worried about the weight. I have no problem. If I can win a 105 kg title and be competitive in 231s at 203 pounds or 200 pounds, then I'll do so. I have no issue with being lighter as long as I'm strong enough. But the weight hasn't really affected me. Strength-wise, it has only affected me negatively in my conditioning, which is a big aspect of my training, and I really don't want to get worse. I don't want to dull one edge to sharpen another. I want that to be a double-edged sword. Good question, man, so thank you for that. Ben J1B asks, are overhead squats worth doing for core and shoulder strength, or are waiters walks a better option? They're different in their own ways, man. I think overhead squats are definitely a good option to incorporate into your stability. Your squatting often relies heavily on your brace, so doing overhead squats gives that weight more leverage, makes you focus on your brace a little bit more, and with that comes overhead stability because you are holding it locked out overhead. That is something I have no issue with, and I think I might incorporate in my training more, but I think they are a good option. Waiters walks, I wouldn't say are any better or any worse. Waiters walks focus on strictly the overhead stability, but the overhead squats put in a whole new factor. So give them both a shot. Put them in on different days. Try doing overhead squats as an assistance movement with your squat days, and then waiters walks as an assistance movement with your overhead days, man. Tim Good asks, how would you train pressing around a shoulder injury? Time off from pressing, change grip, just train lighter, that's fine. Well, that's a pretty vague question because I don't know what the shoulder injury is. And Brian completely tore a rotator cuff, and for a while after surgery, he wasn't doing any training with that shoulder at all. He was doing all lower stuff when he did train. Once he did start training, it was light and kind of testing out the waters and seeing what didn't hurt. He played it very reserved, so I would stay on the safe side rather than pushing it too far. The name of the game is to stay within those limits of recovery and not re-injury. So I really don't want to say anything and give you some sort of advice on something that I'm not really too informed on because I don't really know what shoulder injury you have. But the best thing I would say is play it safe, man. You know what hurts, you know what feels good, you know what doesn't. Listen to your body. All right, so the last question comes from Magaman. I recently got some mini farmers walk handles and an axle bar, and I'm wondering how I can incorporate them into a workout. Man, you've got two very versatile implements. There are so many ways you can work farmers and axles into your workout. Farmers, you can do carries, you can do holds, you can do deadlifts. Strap up and do deadlifts to get really heavy. They work your posterior chain, your traps. That is probably the #1 trap building exercise is farmers carries. You can go out there and carry them for a mile. It sucks, but it works. There are so many ways you can incorporate that. Hell, you can go and even buy some fat grips, throw them on the farmers and make it even harder. But there are so many ways. Farmers are such a good implement to have because you can, like I said, you can train the deadlift. You can train your grip. Double tap all of those all at the same time. You can throw them in for conditioning, like every minute on the minute. You can do strength work. You can make them your primary strongman movement for the day. There's a lot you can do with the farmers. The axle is the same way. You can press, you can deadlift, you can do grip work. Pressing now, either benching or overhead press, continental cleans if you do a lot of Olympic stuff. The axle is a good implement to double tap the grip strength with. Like you can stand up, do holds with that, double overhand of course, not over under. Strap up and do axle deadlifts, or you can do over under, reverse grip and test out where you max out on that with an axle deadlift. But there are so many ways to use those two implements. It's insane. They're two very versatile implements. You got your hands on two very good pieces of equipment in the strongman arsenal. I could be standing here for the next 20 minutes telling you how to incorporate them into your workout. There's so many, dude. Test them out, see where you like to use them, and just go from there. That is about it for this Q&A. Thank you guys for all the questions. There were some fun questions. There were good questions in there. I enjoy answering those. I actually enjoy doing the Q&As because I get to see what exactly is on your guys' mind, what you guys need answered, and giving you the answers that you need. The next video will be, I just did my first official Strongman Games World Submission Monday night. It was just me and Dirty Andy in here, and I will bring you in on that process. My intention is to have that out to you guys Thursday as usual. So even through the hectic schedule, I'm still trying to crank out the content for you guys, because you guys loyally watch my channel, and it is my job to have that content out for you guys. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for the questions. I really appreciate it, guys. I appreciate you guys tuning in every time I post a video. But until the next time, which is hopefully Thursday, you know what the deal is. Get out there, get after it, and embrace the suck. Don't miss.